And welcome to Goal Chat Live. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the DEB Method, which is my system for goal setting simplified. Every Sunday night, I host the Goal Chat Twitter chat, and then Mondays, I bring in guests to dive deeper in the topic. And this is kind of one of the, what came first, the chicken or the egg, because Howard and I know each other through our Tuesday night passion-based networking. And I said, Howard, what do you want to talk about? And resilience. So here we go. And he introduced me to Mindy Corporon, and she has a story. I'll just put it that way. And both of them have faced numerous challenges, like beyond, and resilience. And then we look at resilience and we think, resilience, okay, what is resilience? We're getting through, we're facing challenges, we're just tunneling. And I think given everybody's background, resilience means so many different things to so many different people. So I have brought these two awesome individuals who basically personify resilience to join us today. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And so Howard, we're gonna start with you.
Excellent.
Welcome, and thank you so much for joining.
Debra, I'm so happy to be here and to participate with you. And I love our passion, mastermind group that we meet with on Tuesday nights as well. So I'm Howard Brown. I'm a serial tech entrepreneur. I'm a husband. I'm a dad to a rising junior at the University of Michigan. And I am also a two-time stage 4 cancer survivor and cancer advocate. In 1989, I was diagnosed with stage 4E non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a bone marrow transplant from my twin sister. Thank God saved my life. Roll the clock forward. 26 years, I was diagnosed after a 50-year-old colonoscopy with stage 3, which turned into metastatic stage 4 colon cancer with lots of chemo, some radical surgeries where they put hot chemo in me to kill microcell chemo and debulk all the other cancer inside my abdomen and pelvis. I am living and breathing and grateful.
And we are grateful as well.
Thank you.
Well, we're gonna flip you to Mindy as soon as I take your banner off, because that would be silly if I have that.
That's okay. I can.
There we go.
I don't mind being Howard.
Oh, are you gonna be Howard? Okay, cool. Sounds good. So, and Mindy, and this is really funny because you and Howard know each other, but you don't know each other.
Correct. We know each other's stories. So Debra, thank you also for having me on. And actually I should thank Howard too, because you told Howard that he could invite a guest, a friend. And so it's invite a friend and I'm the friend. So bring a friend to the podcast day.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so Howard and I are linked by our publisher. So our publisher is Front Edge Publishing, and I am so enamored by Front Edge Publishing. I was very pleased and blessed to meet them in the fall of 2020. And I was introduced to them by Bill Timaeus, who is also an author with them because of a podcast. So that's how I met Front Edge Publishing. And so that's how Howard and I met. Debs, you wanted me to introduce myself. Okay, well, I am a mom of 2 boys, and my older son, Reet Griffin Underwood, was murdered in 2014 at the same time as my father. So I lost my father and my son in a domestic terrorism murder at the Jewish Community Center in Overland Park, Kansas. And there will be more on that later, but I'm also the mom of Lucas, and he is a rising sophomore at the University of Arkansas. And so I'm blessed with my boys, and I live in Florida now. We were in Kansas City at the time, the murders, and now we live in South Florida. And we is my husband, Len, and, excuse me, and he and I have stayed married. I know many people ask me that. That is part of being resilient, is working on staying married, which has been great and important all at the same time. And so I'm a daughter and I'm a sister. I was a founder and CEO of a wealth management firm, which I'm so proud of. And I had thought that I would retire running that firm. I thought that would be what I would be doing. But since 2014, my entire life has completely changed. And one thing that I'm doing now that is a big piece of resilience is I'm opening a company called Workplace Healing. And it's going to be a software as a service model. And we're going to, we're going to integrate employees back into the workplace by training their managers how to do so. So that's what I do.
Wow. Awesome. I mean, not your story. I mean, the good
Thank you.
that comes out of it. Because I think, and as I was mentioning up at the front, we've all had to be more resilient than normal, whatever normal is, over the last 4 years. We've had to be creative, make up our own rules, and people have had varying levels of experience over the last year. Some people had great years, some people had terrible years, most people had somewhere in the middle. But the topic of resilience, you can't think of the last 16, 17 months and not think resilience, because the way that we've done everything pretty much has changed. But let's start with the softball, which is, what to you is resilience? And I'm going to let Howard talk first.
Sure. So this is really so many definitions to resilience, but if you do a Google search on it, recovering quickly, toughness, springing back, getting knocked down, getting up again, adapting in the face of adversity, stress, trauma. It doesn't have to be trauma. We're all in this COVID world, and just growing up and in this digital quick time have to be resilient of one flavor or another. And so it's really important. So just getting out of bed in the morning, as some of myself and cancer patients struggle with every day, that's a major resilient accomplishment, to get out of bed every day. So I like to define it as your get up and go. And I want to also say that it's within you, and you can actually, it's part of your nature, but it also, needs to be nurtured. You can be worked on. You can develop it. You can grow it. And it's really important to develop that mindset of resilience, because as you being the queen of goal setting and achievement, that's the end result is sticking to it and making those goals and achieving them, the big ones and the little ones.
Well, and thank you for that. And it's true. It's a matter of seeing the big picture and knowing that things might be awful, but they don't always have to be awful, right?
I agree. And so just an add-on to that is that I think that in difficult times, it's very difficult to find that rainbow, that ray of sunshine, that ability to see it. Sometimes you get blinded by it. It can get dark. And that's where that resilience, and, whether it's, taking a walk and seeing a butterfly or finding some goodness that actually can get you through that moment in time and move it forward. And it's not easy. I don't want to actually say it's easy, but it needs to be. And you need to be motivated. And sometimes just getting that motivation is hard. I have to tell you that, we lost a 13-year-old stage 4 colon cancer patient. And you live in the stage 4 cancer world, you visit death a lot. And most of the people that I went through treatment with are either on treatment for life, or many of them aren't living right now. And I am very grateful. And that part of that keeps me going. It fuels me to, help others, advocate on behalf of those who cannot, and keep up the good fight.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you're here to be able to share this. So, Mindy, resilience. I mean, yes. Like I said before, you two are like the poster kids for resilience from your different levels of experience. So, what is your definition?
Well, first, I'm going to say that I love butterflies, and I know it's going to be upside down, but I'm going to show you my butterfly tattoo.
Oh, wow. We did not plan that.
That wasn't planned. No. Oh my God.
I know.
So serendipitous.
It's hard to show it. It's hard to show it upside down.
No, we can see it.
Okay, good. So you said butterfly, and I was like, ah. So I get messages every day, And Howard, you were my message today because you had no idea how important butterflies were, and you talked about that. And so thank you for that message.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all about, to me, that leads right into resilience. It's about, looking for that step forward. What is that step? And exactly as Howard said, in the deepest, deepest, deepest grief and sorrow, and it affects your body. I have never had cancer, so I can only imagine what that is like. But grief, I can talk about that, and sorrow, and it affects you physically and mentally, and it debilitates you. It can debilitate you for a period of time. And to be resilient is to say to yourself, I'm going to take a shower today. And then when you do it, being proud of yourself that you did, that you did accomplish it, because you need to, like Howard said, nurture the resilience. I remember the day I said, I'm going to walk to the mailbox today. I'm not going to wait on someone else to bring me the mail. I'm actually going to walk to the mailbox. And that was a huge step forward. And then when I got back, I sat down and I said, okay, that was good. That was good. So it's so important to set a goal and realize that that you can achieve it in those baby steps. And then other things that I did were that helped me. I think what helped me be resilient is to feel the pain when it hit me, feel it, live in it, and know that at some point, I had to learn this, that at some point that pain will wash through me, and the tears will stop at some point. They will subside long enough for me to breathe, long enough for me to eat a piece of strawberry rhubarb pie, Reed's favorite pie, to have fried pickles because my dad loved fried pickles, so you learn it. It doesn't mean that I like it. In fact, when I know that grief is coming, I still get anxious and I still get upset, and I don't want it to come, but I know in my head, okay, it's going to come. I have to let it come. It's going to wash through me, and then I'm going to take those steps forward. And to me, understanding that is a pattern, and it's normal, and that hurting is normal, and struggling to find joy is normal. When you realize all of that, that's very helpful to continue being resilient.
Wow. Amazing. And the fact that because a lot of people go through trauma cannot share the trauma. So I get, extra gold stars and butterflies for being able to articulate it, because we did an episode on storytelling back in April, and one of the messages were, if you can tell your story, because you never know who it's going to reach, and you never know who needs to hear that. So for all the people I'll speak for all the people you never hear from, I am sure you're helping many, many, many more people than you could ever imagine by being able to articulate as you did just now. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So let's turn it to the age of now. Why does being resilient matter? Why is it more important than ever? Because it's really funny, because something annoys me. This is my method. I could be annoyed for like 2 minutes. That's like the limit. Because when I look at the general scheme of things, of what everybody else is going through, it's like nothing. But for some people, what you would consider little is huge for them. So why does being resilient matter so much now, but all the time? Do you want to start this one, Mindy?
Sure. What I initially thought of is, why does it matter now? And there are two things that came to mind quickly. The sun keeps coming up. The sun keeps coming up, and it's always a good day to find some resilience, because the sun keeps coming up. And I learned that when a friend of mine was killed in a car accident when I was 16. And I didn't want the world to go on. I didn't want the sun to come up. And I was so angry that the sun came up. And I learned that that's what it was going to be like. And then when my dad and son were murdered, I thought to myself, that sun's going to come up. I was going to say an explicitive, but don't know if that's okay live. So that sun came up
Thank you.
I didn't want it to, but I knew that it was going to. And I said to myself, okay, it's going to come up. So what are you going to do about it? And then the other reason that it's now, why would be resilient is, who do we have to live for? And I know Howard mentioned a family, family members and children specifically. And I am a mom. I'm still a mom. I'm still a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a wife. I have ideas. I still have great ideas. And the ideas that I have now are generated from the fact that I had such sorrow and grief. So that was so impactful. And I feel like I have a responsibility to carry on the legacies of my dad and son. So that's how I feel about it. I feel like I need to get up and go. I need to get up and go because I've got to carry on. I want to carry on their legacy and be able to speak on behalf of them because they can't.
Beautiful.
I agree 100% with Mindy said, but I will tell you that we're coming out of a real curveball. Okay, so people have had to face COVID-19, and we are now, in a world of the land of the beauty and free. We got restrictions. And so COVID allowed us to lock down, and we actually have changed our workflows. We're doing Zooms and podcasts and digital, and we didn't get to hug. That actually was the biggest thing I missed. You didn't get to hug. I saw my mom for the first time in 15 months, and boy, that was probably one of the best, most endearing hugs. I held her for like 5 minutes. She's like, she didn't want to let go, and I didn't want to let go. And these are the things that you have to appreciate. And so I think that why now is that we've all actually either knowingly or unknowingly actually counted on some type of resilience during this time. And so everyone's had to taste it. And so where do we go from here, right? Are you working hybrid? Is there no long 2-hour commutes now? You can hug your mom. You get to do things, but we're doing them slightly differently. All that is part of what I call the discipline. And so the discipline needs to include positivity, right? It has to be optimistic. You can, as you said, you can actually be mad for 2 minutes, and sometimes you can be mad for the whole day. But at the end of the day, it becomes unproductive. Okay. And things get dark and depressive. But if you're not looking forward, you can actually stay in neutral or actually go in reverse. And those step backs are learning opportunities. But most people want to move forward. Most people want goals. Most people want positive change in their lives. In order to do that, you wouldn't run a marathon tomorrow unless you trained. It takes training. You need to train your mind, body, and soul to move forward. And that just doesn't happen. You don't wave a magic wand. You have to work on it and build it up and stick to it and be accountable. And that is all part of your goal plan, Deb, that you follow judiciously and you get to the finish line. So that's why resilience is so important core to achievement and goal setting and goal making. So you're a goal maker or a goal breaker, right?
I love how you keep saying my favorite word. Yes, it's all about the goals, but knowing in the Deb method, the first step is visualization, which you both definitely touched on, is you have to see things being different. And once you're able to see things being different, you can work toward it. And the visualization of the butterfly, the hope, whatever hope thing. I also liked what Mindy was talking before about, my goal was to make it to the mailbox. You get like 7 gold stars for walking to the mailbox because that's what you need to do for yourself, right? You need to look not just, and even now, I'm in LA. We had no masks. Now we have masks again. It's just, and I think we're going to be going back and forth for a while but I've been predicting that for a while anyway. The way things are changing, I don't think we're going to have anything consistent for at least another 6 months, year, whatever. So this resilience thing, we're still in it, I think.
I would agree. I would agree that we need resilience. So what everyone learned, I've talked about this previously, not on your podcast, but previously, is what everyone learned in April, specifically of 2020, is what Howard and I already knew. We knew that life can change on a dime. We know that things can be taken from you. We know that your life can come to a crashing halt with one word, cancer, two more words, stage 4, I came upon my dad and son in the parking lot, and my life completely shattered. And so I knew what that was like. Well, when COVID happened, and it was April now, and that's when they were murdered. They were murdered in April of 2014. And I wrote about this. I said, it's interesting. Collectively, everyone is grieving, and while everyone's grieving, they're not grieving why for the same reason that I'm grieving, but I can feel everyone grieving, and it actually selfishly was comforting to know that more people might understand even a tiny bit the grief that I felt, that my life was taken from me, that memories that should happen were just taken. I just ripped away. Parenting a son, ripped away. Being a daughter to my dad, ripped away. And so I had to push through that. And that was one thing I wanted to share, that when you all were both talking, I thought, I need to mention it's not always pretty and fun, and we're talking and laughing about it. I'm 7 years out. I talk about the murders often. That's how I was able to write the book. But I pushed through grief. A pastor said that to me. He said, I see you pushing through grief. And he gave me that as a definition. I made myself go to the high school and clean out my son's locker. So my husband and I did that. A friend offered to do it, and I said, no, I'm going to do it. I went to every single event that the high school held on behalf of him. I went to every vigil. I pushed and pushed. And Deb, it was ugly. It was ugly. I was crying all the time. I wore absolutely no makeup for 2.5 years. I wore no eye makeup whatsoever because I never knew when I was going to cry. But what I want to tell people is, as I pushed through it, I learned that the tears would end at some point. I learned that I could feel better. I learned that I could feel messages and be blessed by messages like a butterfly or someone saying the word butterfly. So those are things that I did to find resilience, but I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's all happy and gleeful. I'm sure Howard's got stories about how messy it is to have stage 4 cancer. That's got to be a very messy process.
I do. But I also, I'm not trying to be defined by it, because I have a whole life, just like you do, sister, daughter, had a brokerage firm or a wealth management firm, and there's more to come. Right. And so I want to say, Mindy, that you hit, to getting through grief, or I'm going to hold up a book in a second called Bounce, which is Living the Resilient Life by Robert Wicks, that I've read. And he calls it Navigating the Rough Waters. I want to tell people out there, it's okay not to be okay. That's just the time that we live in right now, emotionally, physically, financially. There's just lots of challenges out there that we have to face. Now, again, how and what you're going to do about it is the game plan, the blueprint to move things forward, to get them to where you want them to be and show momentum, right? They always talk about momentum. Are you moving forward? And so in our household, which I have to tell you that my wife, my caregiver for cancer 2, and my mom for cancer giver 1 as I was 23 and a half years old, hardest job in the world, because they get the crap. Well, my job is healing. Okay. But their job is everything else. And to have a daughter go through high school, not knowing if dad is going to live or die, it's pretty intense. And so you need time to recover. We're all still recovering. It's still fairly raw. And I don't think we'll all be fully recovered, but if we can get to 90%, we're carrying on, and we're going to carry on strong, and we're going to help others. And that's really important, to understand that it's okay that we're not okay right now. But if you can summon the strength to step forward and get to that mailbox, as I had that same goal after surgeries, just getting to a mailbox, and then the dog would take me a few steps further. And those are important, because healing is a process, and it doesn't usually happen overnight. But for me, my long-term goal, or the big hairy goal, the BHAG, I needed to get back on the basketball court. It wasn't a choice. Basketball is my happy place. And in order for me to get back on my happy place, that took work. It took a plan. It took meeting goals. It took building my stamina and strength. And I'm very happy to tell you, I am back on the basketball court after not playing indoors. And I am playing outdoors 3 days a week. And although I'm 55 and I can't play, as young as I am, I can knock that 3-pointer down, and I can play a whole bunch of games. And I don't feel like a cancer patient on there. I'm one of the boys trash talking and getting trash talked. And that's resilience. And that mental toughness and that physical toughness got me to that point, because I can tell you, roll the clock back 3 years, there's no way I could step on a basketball court after all the chemo and surgeries I had, and before radiation and things like that.
Wow. Celebrate. Okay. So first of all, here's your gold star, because I know you've been angling for it.
Yes.
And even though it's an understatement to say both of your cases are extreme cases of resilience, it is important to celebrate any and all wins, whether it is getting mail or playing basketball or hugging your mom. I mean, all these different things. So for those, and Chad chimed in, and I'm going to repeat what he said. Inspiring conversation. One of my favorite themes so far is that it's okay not to be okay. And I think that is really, thank you, Chad, for that, the crux of resilience. Knowing it's okay not to be okay, but I think the step, knowing that maybe you will not be okay forever, is what the resilience is.
Agreed.
Yeah, you can overcome it, and you can surpass it. But as Howard said, it's a process. So healing is a process. Being resilient is a process. I've heard it called a muscle. It's a muscle that we can work at and practice and make stronger. That we can make ourselves more resilient. But we also need help from the outside. Howard mentioned his caregivers, and I would mention, my husband and my son. But I would also mention, I wrote an entire chapter on all the people, as many as I could get stories in about the people that came alongside us. And so I would encourage someone who's looking to be resilient, and they're feeling tired, and they're exhausted, and they feel like they're in the middle of it, and it's an ugly place they are right now. They do need to look for support on the outside, and whether that's professional support, a professional counselor, whether that's somebody like you, Deb, that can help them with goal setting, whether that's a synagogue or a church or a mosque, a faith place, but they definitely need to say yes to support. And so often, I know females, I don't know about men in particular all the time, but I know women, we tend to think we don't need to ask for help. We're supposed to be able to do everything, fry it up in a pan, the whole thing that I grew up with. I've got to be able to go to work, I got to go home and cook dinner and the whole thing. And that was hard. And so when people came to help me, I said yes. They said, "What, can I help you? Can I mow your lawn?" Yes. Can I walk your dog? Yes. And I welcomed that. So I wanted to throw that out there as well.
Say yes to help. I'm also going to put the link in the chat to it's Right Out Online, which is my support group. It's for goal setting, accountability, but most importantly for community. So if you need someone cheering you on, join us or come to Goal Chat on Sunday nights. Or if you just need to be like, when I say, what are your goals for the week? You can say, my goals is to be more resilient, is to find support, is to have a conversation. It's a forum where people who need connection can find their people. So I'm really glad that you said that. I think, and that's really at the beginning, before it was for writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, just for writers, the live group I had were writers who said, no one in my family gets me. I'm glad you're here. You need to find the people who get you. And if you can't, you have us, and we will get you, and we will push you forward. And also, I think the people who've supported you. So how have you celebrated your champions so Howard or Mindy, if you want to go first on this.
Well, I wrote about many of them, and they all got a book. they all got written up in a book that's published. And so, but I did. I said thank you, and we sent thank you notes, and I try to remember them and honor them when I pay it forward as well. So I try to pay it forward for what they did. So one story I have in particular is a woman walked in, within a few days of the murders, and people were coming and going from her house, and she brought this huge box of paper products. And I remember looking at it going, what am I going to do with all this toilet paper? Why do I have all of this paper towel? What am I going to do with all this plasticware and these paper plates? Debra, we used every bit of it. She knew what she was doing. And so to honor what she did for me, I talk about it live. And I also do that now. So when someone has an event happen in their life, I say take paper products, because when people start coming to your home, you're likely going to run out of toilet paper, or you're going to need plasticware. You're going to need paper plates or plastic plates. I think you pay it forward, and you thank them and you pay it forward at the same time.
I want, before I go on the champions, I just want to go back to, because you said, moms do it all, and women are way smarter than us guys. We tend to be macho, not share our emotions, and we want to hang out with the clicker and the ball game in the man cave, or out on the golf course, or something like that. So friends of mine, Trevor Maxwell, started Man Up for Cancer, and this is the place for men to let their guard down. And it's all private. It's a private Facebook, and it allows us to kind of be a little bit of a fraternity, but support each other and talk confidentially as the guys. And you'd be amazed that there needs to be a place for that. I do a lot of coaching, mentoring, or I call it cancer whispering, not only for cancer patients, but also for startup businesses and entrepreneurs at Babson College. And resilience is really important. How are you going to face those roadblocks? You're going to go over it? You're going to go around it. You're going to go in reverse and find a new route. I mean, you need to plan for all that. And it's really important to understand that. And so I developed, some of these little acronyms, and what is my aid? So just like the butterfly that Mindy showed us, my attitude, my imagination, and my determination. What's my aid today? Where am I taking my attitude, my imagination, and my determination today? And it's just something that pops in and it just gets me straight. But in order to thank my people, in my book, In Shining Brightly, will be due out in the fall, hopefully October, it's really hard to thank the caregivers because it's a thankless job. And the amount of stuff that they had to do, it's the crap. But there are so many other people that prayed for me, that brought us meals, that took my daughter to soccer on weekend trips, that would travel soccer, that did so many good and kind things in my time of need. And one in particular that I had trouble with, and I got over it, let me tell you. But my high school friend, Bobby Powell, actually went to my college buddies who know each other from Babson College, and he said, why let all this financial stuff, cause more headaches for your family? They started a GoFundMe for me. And quite frankly, most GoFundMes, they get a few $1,000s. My worldwide network got $108,000 that paid for medical bills. Let me just tell you, that's one way of giving, and that's one way of paying it forward. And I am grateful because that helped a lot. And I had trouble accepting that. And you have to be selfish and take it, as Mindy so eloquently said, take the help when you need it. And I did, and I'm grateful for that. So just two other champions is that when you have someone, train for the Lake Placid Triathlon and put your name, HB Strong, on their bib, as my high school friend Andy Wheeler did, and run a triathlon in my honor and raise funds that can go to help others, that is a very high honor. And I had my friend and college roommate Ed Scher run the Boston Marathon and raised $37,000. And I had my friend David DeContour run the Pan Mass Challenge for Dana-Farber, a bike race, and their team raised $61,000. And they wore, my HB Strong, HB Strong shirts, and they honored me by that. And I can't repay that. I am so grateful and so happy that they did that, and in my honor. And it was beautiful.
That is beautiful. So it's such the extremes. How do you honor people? Money, paper products. I think
Yeah.
being the champion, you're being, when you need to be resilient, you are being a champion for yourself and for those around you, and then they're champions back for you. I think when this is what I'm hearing is, the love bond, the support bond, just that energy, that really good energy, because I'm a huge fan of the power of prayer. It works. I know this from experience too. And I think these are great stories, and the fact that you continue to share the stories and send that good energy out in the world is helpful as well. And the lead into this next question was better, like 2 tangents ago, but that's okay. We're all good with this. What can people do to develop resilience? Because it's not, I believe that when you go through trauma and you find the strength, that's one thing, but there have to be things people can do to develop resilience. Yes? Yes. What do you think? And so, Howard, why don't you start us?
I'd be glad to. So I'm going to hold this up and we'll be able to do this. But this is a book called Bounce. Okay. And this is by Robert Wicks, and he's written a lot of books. And this book right here tells you how to actually get and navigate the rough waters and through renewal and get a hopeful heart. And he takes you through some of those steps. So if you need a book, I highly recommend that one. There's lots of motivational books out there and plenty of resource out there. But I think the first step comes with awareness. Yeah, you got to recognize where you're at. And you want to recognize where you go. And part of that is you have to summon some confidence and belief in yourself, called mindfulness. And that comes with, self-care and nurturing. You got to put a plan together, have those goals, make them be little baby steps at first, and celebrate that success. And that will give you a purpose, and that purpose with positivity. And again, listen, I'm not being Pollyanna. There's hard days, okay, for certain resilience, right? There's hard days, but small bites, get through it and keep powering forward. And then positivity and results come and change comes. And it puts us together on a podcast where you get 3, pretty amazing people being able to try to help others.
Well, and that's really the purpose of anything. And you know this because people who've listened to more than one show of mine also know this. It starts with who you are, what you want, but what is your mission? What do you want to bestow upon the world? Because that gives the fuel behind your purpose. I said that backwards. Having purpose is the fuel behind whatever it is that you do. So my purpose is to help people figure out what they want and how to get it. And yes, baby steps, stay positive, set those goals and celebrate everything. Absolutely. Sometimes even the littlest success will make all the difference. But you have to, the awareness as the first step, I think, is absolutely huge. See where you are, where you want to go, and then what you need to do to get there, and with a positive attitude. So I love that.
I'll just add one thing for my daughter, or you just have your daughter say, "Hey, Dad, get busy living." Just get busy living. That's that simple thing that, you get busy living, because the other option isn't really an option. So Mindy, I'm interested. What are some of the steps that you'd recommend?
Yeah. So as I was listening to you, I was thinking about on a logistical standpoint, what I did was to become aware. I journaled. So I was thinking, I always say to people, I journal a lot, and I could use the word, I wrote it down. I wrote down when I was angry. I wrote down when I was sad. I wrote down what I wanted to say to my son that I couldn't. I wrote down words to my dad. I wrote and wrote and wrote. And so if someone doesn't know how to become aware, write down what you're thinking, because I love that you have this man cancer group this man group where you all can talk to one another and you can share. I don't know anyone who has had 2 family members murdered on the same day and then found them in the parking lot. So my circumstances are different. Now I know many parents, more than I wish I knew, who've lost children. And so that's helpful. I can share with them, and we can talk about a lot of different things, and it's very helpful. But I really needed to be able to write things down. The other reason I started writing is because our younger son, Lucas, was 12 at the time, and he did not want me to use Reet's name for about a year. He didn't want me to talk about Reet. He was grieving differently than I was grieving, and I had to learn that. And so we tried not to use Reet's name as often as I wanted to. So to talk to Reet, I would write and write and write. So I did that. And then prayer has been mentioned several times. I gave myself permission to be mad at God. I gave myself permission to be angry for more than a few minutes. I gave myself permission to be angry for a day, or angry, for a period of time. But I was careful to not harm myself. And I tried to be careful to not harm others, although I'm sure, we harmed our relationships here and there, and we've had to do a lot of mending. But the biggest thing that I did to be aware was I wrote things down, and I wrote prayers, and I put myself in a place where I was around people that were positive. So you all are talking a lot about, we mentioned positivity. Sometimes in our lives, there are people around us who are not positive. And I'll go so far as to say someone might be in your life who's toxic. And if you notice that when you're with someone, they make you feel bad and they make you feel uncomfortable, or you don't feel as happy as you did when you first walked in the door or when they showed up, you might want to try to stop seeing them and having them in your circle as much. And there were people in my life that were keeping me in sadness, and I had to figure out how to move forward. And so I think it's important to notice that as well. Who's in your circle that's helping, and who's in your circle that might be hurting, even though maybe they don't intend to, but perhaps they are.
Well, first of all, you can't possibly know this, but journaling is one of my absolutely favorite things. I use it for everything, because when you journal, well, you know this, you're getting things out of your body. You can also use it for planning, for tracking wins. The journal is like the all-purpose tool to figure anything out, even if it's just to heal yourself. So I love that you mentioned that. And the toxic people thing, oh my goodness. I love, because you put it so just to the point there. If you find yourself feeling not as good after being someone as you were when you showed up, it's a hint. It's a huge hint. And I think a lot of people don't have that awareness, but I'm all about goal setting simplified. That's like the simplest litmus test. Do you feel better after being with people? And there I'm sure some people who would have, who were good with your sadness to keep you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or they had their own sadness that they wanted me to help them fix. And I wasn't the right person for them to help fix their own sadness. I was very deep in my own sadness. And, some people, their glass is half empty, and some people, their glass is half full. And I think the half empty people, if they get around you when you are really trying to push forward, and they continue to push you back without maybe they don't realize that they're doing it, but you have to realize that for yourself. You have to learn to protect yourself. And I learned that early. And in the middle of my grief, in the early months, well, for probably 12 months, I could feel so much. My heart was so raw that I was very cognizant about social settings and who I would be around, and who I was willing to share my story with, and who I was willing to even listen to, because people in a social setting want to bring up their family and their children, and that's a normal conversation. And I had to protect myself and say, I'm not ready for that conversation with someone. And so I'm ready now. I can talk to people about that, but I had to learn at what point is my heart going to be okay talking to someone about their child who's Reed's age doing what he should be doing. And so give yourself permission. I tell people this a lot. Give yourself permission to remove yourself from a situation that's causing you harm.
Really good, sound advice. What are some other self-care sorts of things that, I don't want to say like regular people, the people who are coming out of the pandemic and are readjusting, what are some good basic self-care rituals that you recommend?
Howard?
Mindy?
You want me to take that? Sure. So I will tell you that try to actually schedule in no digital. Schedule in a walk in nature. Walk your dog. Schedule in a bike ride. Schedule a walk with your wife or your family member or a friend, or just alone. You need to schedule that in so you hold yourself accountable to that. We are addicted. We have an addiction to our phones and to digital, and life goes really quickly in a tweet, and that's not how life is actually lived. It's not. It's actually takes you to places that in a blink of an eyelash, when you get the headlines, but you don't get the detailed story. And that's not a way that we live life. We live life of building relationships and making memories. And so that's a very key piece of advice that I've used myself, is drop the phone and turn it completely off and walk away from it for a little while. Schedule that in. And it's hard to do. It's a discipline again.
I think that's perfect. And that's one of the things that I tell people, especially since so much work and life is meshing together, to schedule in the breaks. So, and I love how you took the digital out of it. Mindy, what do you think? Something to add?
What was the question exactly? Because I was thinking about, if I didn't have digital, I would be playing Rummy Cube, or I would be playing a game. So I was thinking, what I like to schedule in game time. I like to schedule in, and I love walks. I think walks are mandatory for getting out stress. Those are great. Exercise in general, any kind of exercise. So I'm sorry, Deborah, what was my question?
I think you answered it accidentally, okay. But it was, what are some more practical means of self-care that people who are just dealing with, regular resilience issues can do to amp that up?
So my husband and I went to a healthcare retreat for both of us, and we learned the importance of sleep. So I struggled with sleep a lot, and sometimes I still do. And I don't mind sharing, I hit menopause like a Mack truck ran over me. And so started dealing with that 2 years ago. And so my sleep has been very difficult. I sleep 4 hours at a time, and then I wake up, and then I'm up for a while. And so anyway, we went to this retreat, and they talked about sleep. So I try to have a ritual, just like we did with our children when they were little, like what you do right before you go to bed, and the whole hour process, which eliminates digital before bedtime and TV. But sleep is so important for our health. Sleep. And my husband needs 9 hours, and I need 7. And I just know that if he's still sleeping, I leave him alone. I want him to get his sleep. And but I need 7 and he needs 9, and that's pretty mandatory. And then for me, it's exercise. And I listen to my body. If my body says, get up and stand up. I have one of those desks that moves up and down. I'm sitting right now, but I could be standing. So I stand a lot during the day on good shoes, so I stand. I try to think about my posture, and I think about standing and balancing. All of those things are very important to, I think, maintaining a healthy self-care. And I think it's also part of what Howard talked about being self-aware. I listen to my body. So I was going to say, if my body says go out and take a walk, I'll put on a hat and I'll go take a walk for 15 minutes or 30 minutes if that's all the time I have. And sometimes my body will say, you're tired, you need to rest, you need to sit down and rest. And I try to listen to myself. And I would venture to say that people similar to myself and Howard, who have had a significant event in our lives, we understand that life again can be taken from you, We understand that life can be much shorter than we wanted it to be. And we take advantage of the time by being as healthy as we can, by being as healthy to ourselves as we can be.
Mindy hit the nail on the head. If you're sleeping, you're healing, and there's qualities of sleep, REM sleep being the best, and you need to actually do that. But there's other ways. If you're a yoga person or Pilates, or you want to walk without your phone and go get your favorite ice cream and treat yourself to a little midday, smoothie or ice cream. There's lots of ways to do it. You can get creative. You can find your own ways and things like that. And I think what you're hearing from us is that we've got to a place of gratitude. We've gotten to a place. I have to tell you that, sometimes before my quarterly scans, if cancer is going to come back or not, and we call that scanxiety. I don't want to lose that, because I've achieved a good place of gratitude now. I am grateful for the second opportunity at being able to potentially watch my daughter walk down the aisle that was not guaranteed. Okay. Now for Mindy, that's not guaranteed for Reet and her son, and then to hug her dad again. So you got different circumstances that you actually have to deal. But I've achieved a place of gratitude, and it was not easy to get there. And it is like Humpty Dumpty staying up there, but I am trying every day.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I keep repeating that word. It's all your fault. Thank you. Seriously, I cannot thank you both enough for coming on here and being so real and sharing your experience and your advice. And I'm going to ask you for more. So what is a good developing resilience goal? And you can choose something you said, or you can come up with something else. But I like to leave the audience with a couple tangible things that they can do when they're done watching or listening or whatever to be more resilient in their life. So do you want to start us out, Mindy?
Sure. So when you said that before, I think of what I dubbed courageous kindness. So I talk in my book, Healing a Shattered Soul. I wasn't sure what to call it when all these people came forward and did so much for us, but they were courageously kind. And to me, that's stepping into somewhere where you feel uncomfortable, you don't know what to say, you're not sure what you're doing is going to be right or might hurt somebody, but you step into that zone anyway, and you do an action or you say something to help someone that does end up helping them and offering them hope. So what can someone do is that they can step into courageous kindness. If you know someone that is hurting for any reason, whether it's an illness, whether they're a caregiver, and it's very stressful being a caregiver, as Howard talked about. If someone lost a family member, they lost a job, they're struggling, if you feel a nudge to take an action, that is to me stepping into and through courageous kindness. And so I would recommend that people really do act on that intuition that we tend to have as humans. As humans, we want to help one another. We want to grieve with one another. We want to share grief with someone and help take that burden off of them. And to me, that is an act of courageous kindness, which is a building block for resilience.
I love that. And if you don't know what to do, just send them some paper products, because this is now like the go-to gift. You don't know what to give someone, send them some plastic cutlery, because
they're going to need it.
Mindy, your butterfly is flying, because courageous kindness. Deb, I don't get to hand out gold stars like you, but I'm giving Mindy extra gold stars for courageous kindness. I have to tell you, that is so powerful. I'm like, oh my God, that was like, to me, it's hitting me really hard. But I'm going to put on my shining brightly glasses right now, because this is everyone, has the ability and can summon the strength to shine brightly a little bit each day to make the world a better place. And we can do it. It's in you. Do you want to do it? Can you do it? Yes, you can. And so we can shine brightly and make this world a better place for yourself, being selfish, and for others, and especially the ones close to you that you need to keep those relationships and keep nourishing that as well. And I have a lot of work to do on all fronts, but I think that mantra can help.
This is fantastic. So and I hope I'm defining it well. So shining brightly is just being like a beacon of light or hope for someone else.
Yes, that's one of the definitions of it. But it depends if you're religious. We're supposed to walk in the image of God and shine, and we're supposed to be the shining light onto the nation and heal this broken world, and we can do that. So you know what? Being kind, this courageous kindness is a great step in the way. And be nice to yourself and be nice to others. It makes a difference. And then you'll become resilient. You'll build it. You'll carry it forward. That torch will light.
And it really comes back, and this theme is in a lot of these conversations. It's the self-awareness. See what you need, see how you can help and how you can give, but also receiving is also giving. So there's that whole love is letting go of fear, giving, receiving thing. But really know thyself and be compassionate and kind to those around you, and maybe amp it up a little bit because people could use a little extra, and then it makes you feel good. So it's like win-win, win-win, right?
Yes, giving and receiving courageous kindness is healing. It's healing. It's healing as a giver, and it's healing as a receiver.
I think that hope and paying it forward, that it's amazing how that can energize you. And you hear about the stories of people that paid for the toll in front of you or bought the cup of coffee for the next 3 people in line. Those are the greatest stories. Those little small acts. The people that made us dinners, Mindy, brought paper products or took my daughter to soccer. Those little things matter.
Right.
They matter.
So tell me, where can people discover more about you, connect with you? Let's start with you, Howard.
Well, being that my book, Shining Brightly, is not available yet, and we'll talk to our publisher, David Crum and John Heil at the Front End Publishing, see if they can speed that up. But October, it looks like, for a launch pre-sales date. I will have a website, shiningbrightly.life, but LinkedIn's a great place. Please link in with me, and I'd be glad to talk more and continue the conversation. And it's awesome to be here and share.
Well, it's awesome to have you here. And Mindy, where can people find you?
Thank you, Debra. MindyCorporon.com. And you've done a great job, yes, of posting that. So it's just my name, MindyCorporon.com. I'm an author, a thought leader, a podcast. I podcast as well. And my podcast is called Real Grief, Real Healing. So talking about being authentic, I ask people to share how they got into what was their grief situation, and then we turn that onto how did they heal. So you can find all of that on my website.
Wonderful. And for anybody who's watching, listening, doesn't know me, I'm at the Deb Method everywhere, and you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog for the recap of this and all of my previous goal chats. And again, every Sunday night, I host the Goal Chat Twitter chat on Twitter. Be redundant, why don't you?
Go chat.
Yes. And then every Monday, I bring in wonderful guests like Mindy and Howard to dive deeper into the topic and the conversation. And if you need a little bit of help setting those goals, you can grab your copy of your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals on Amazon or at your favorite bookstore. The link is also in the comments. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. Final thought, Mindy, final thought, Howard, and then we will wrap. So Mindy, go.
I would say I named my book Healing a Shattered Soul because I will never be completely healed, and I have given myself permission to know that. I am always in a healing process. And so there are a lot of times we need to give ourselves permission for things. So give yourself permission to keep processing your healing, whatever that is.
Love it. And Howard, final thought?
Sure. That resilience can be stripped down. It can be built back up. And I like to have a little acronym called PACE, positive attitude change everything. And I keep getting inspired more and more. And that inspiration is my fuel. And you two have both inspired me today. So I thank you.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for your thanks, but thank you both for sharing your stories, your recommendations, your heart today with me, and for those who are tuning in. Mindy, Howard, I wish you continued healing and just fulfilled, wonderful lives. And to those of you who are watching, you can be resilient. We've got your back. Just go on out there and go for it.
Thank you, Debra.
Thank you, Debra.
Thank you, Howard.